So welcome to this week's Breakfast with Mike. And this week we're going to talk about FSBOs. And if you are new to this, the FSBO is the for sale by owner. And in my opinion, the for sale by owner is the easiest one for us to target. Why? Because we know why they're a for sale by owner. You see, when a listing expires, we might think we know. The old school thinking always says if it expired, it was overpriced. Well, what if they didn't market it correctly? What if they got offers and the agent wasn't skilled enough to get those offers accepted? See, with expireds, you're never sure of why it expired. But with a FSBO, you know. A FSBO expires. A FSBO is on the market as a FSBO for one reason. They're cheap. They don't want to pay a commission. And I know this. There's no other reason than they don't want to pay a commission. Well, my cousin's in the business and they're guiding me. If your cousin was a full-time realtor, there's no way they'd let you go FSBO. You're going FSBO because you think you can save money. Now, here's the thing to think about for any of you that have been in this business any length of time whatsoever. In other words, since COVID, here's what we learned. If FSBOs weren't successful during the COVID, when you didn't, literally, you could just think about selling a house and it would sell. It took no skills whatsoever to put deals together. Anybody who thought about selling their house was able to get offers. And yet, FSBOs were still successful less than 10% of the time. The studies still show it runs between 7 and 8%. In a market where everything sells, FSBOs are successful 7 to 8% of the time. For me, that represents a huge opportunity for every one of you. There's no reason. And the scary part is, and don't worry, I won't ask you to respond. But the scary part is most agents, when they see a for sale by owner sign in a yard, they don't react at all. They just drive right by it. If I were to ask you how many times you've driven by the same sale by owner, a bunch of hands would go up if you're honest with each other, because that's what's happening. Why? Because realtors still expect business to fall in their lap, and it doesn't. At least not for those who want to make some money. You've all seen the numbers lately. They talk about this latest thing that's out there now says 49% of the real estate population closed 1 or 0 last year. 49%. 70% closed 5 or fewer. What does this mean? Well, it means the top 30% doing a whole lot of work. Because NAR keeps coming out with their study that says the average person closes like 12 or 13. Well, if 70% of the people do 5 or less, that means that top 30%'s got to do an awful lot in order to get that number up to 12 or 13. They're not telling us the truth. So what? I don't care. All I care about is that you get what you want. And one of the easiest ways is going to be the for sale by owner. Yeah, you need to work your core. Yeah, you need to work your block of 25. No question about that. And you will get referrals from them. But if somebody were to say to me, if you were starting over today, what would you target? It'd be the sale by owners. So if we know that to be true, how do we get in? Well, there's 3 types of sale by owners out there, and you got to know which one you're dealing with, okay? There's the sale by owner for life. This is the sale by owner that takes their house off, puts it on, takes it off, puts it on, and every time they seem to put it on, they raise the price. even if the market's gone down. They have no interest in actually selling. I don't know why they even do it. Maybe they're just bored and want you to come visit. I don't know. I don't care. I just know that on the phone, you can figure out who the sale by owner for life is. They're usually the easiest one to get an appointment because they already know they're not going to list. And sometimes they can get some information from you that's valuable for them. How do you figure out who the sale by owner for life is? Ask them a question. How long have you been on the market? On and off, included, whatever. How long have you been trying to sell on your own? If they say anything more than 6 months, you got a lifer. That's guaranteed. Because in this market, it doesn't take that long to sell a house, does it? I mean, you get anything decent, it's going to sell. So if they say they've been on, heck, I might even think if they've been on more than 3 months at this point, they're a lifer. The second sale by owner is the one that just came on the market, like this week. Okay. One of the tricks I used to use was I used to try to go to my office different ways. I know some of you don't even go to your office anymore, but you should. But I used to go different ways. And if I went a different way and I saw a sale by owner sign pop up, well, then I knew it couldn't have been on the market more than a week because I would go 5 different ways to the office. So if I saw a sign today that wasn't there last week, the most they can be on is 7 days. That's it. Those people are not going to list with you immediately. It's not going to happen. However, there are some things we can do to increase the odds that you're going to get that one, and I'm going to cover that in a couple minutes. The third type of sale by owner has been on the market 3-4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, and they have not been successful yet. Many times they'll say, well, I had somebody look at it the other day. They told me they're bringing in an offer. Yeah, I know. And the sun's going to come out at 4 a.m. It just isn't going to happen the way they think it is. 8% going to be successful. 92% are not. The best time to reach out to these people is Monday. Why Monday? Because a lot of times they've done the open house on Sunday and didn't have anybody show up. Now, in today's market, they might have had a whole bunch of people show up, but if nobody wrote the offer while they were there, odds are they're not getting one. Now, they think they are. 3 people said, oh, yeah, we're going to go back and talk about it, and we'll be calling you later with an offer, except it doesn't happen, and next Sunday they're doing another open house. Call them on Mondays. They are most frustrated on Mondays. All right, let's talk about the 2 different types that we can target. The one that just came on the market, your goal with them is to become friends with the person I call the prisoner. In almost every situation, one person or the other stays at the house. They're the ones that have the no-shows. People say they're going to come look at it, and then they don't show up. They're the ones that handle all the phone calls. They're the ones that answer all the questions. They're the prisoner, because when they go out, anybody looking at the house can't reach the number. They're tied to the house. And at the end of the day, whoever the other person is comes home and starts talking about, did you sell the house? And the prisoner just wants to smack them because they've been putting up with all the crap from all these other people that you and I know goes on all the time. That's just normal. It's just normal for us when somebody calls up, says, I want to go look, and then they cancel. So all of a sudden now the prisoner is going to become an ally for you. That's the person you want to talk to. Because eventually what will happen is the prisoner will get tired of all this stuff on their own, and they will start becoming an ally with you against the person that still wants to go by themselves. Okay, let's pretend we get that far. Let's pretend that the ally now is saying, you know what? I think I would like you to handle it, but I can't convince my partner, spouse, whatever, to go that way. They think we're going to save money. Well, you've got to have an answer for that. And for me, trying to convince them to list on the phone was never the answer, ever. I just want the appointment. So my answer always was the same. Well, here, I can completely understand that, but let me ask you a quick question. If I could prove to you, and I mean prove beyond any doubt, that I could net you more money than you will yourself, if I could prove that, I know it's a lot, but if I could prove that, would you at least let me come over and talk to you? That's it. That's the one I'm using. I used it all the time. I have students that use it now. Excuse me. People say, well, how are you going to prove it? Well, number one, I never try to prove it when I get over there. When I get over there, I do a normal listing presentation. I talk about my networks. Do they have networks? Yeah, their next door neighbor. What are the odds of them buying it? They don't have networks the way you do. I talk about my agent networks. I talk about my core network. I talk about my vendor networks. Do they have any of those? No. So what I'm doing is explaining to them things that I do that they cannot do. They're successful. See, here's what they think. They think, listen, all I got to do is the same as most of you agents. I'll put it in MLS and wait for it to sell. Scary thing is that works 47% of the time. Did you know 92.5% of all statistics are made up? Just thought I'd throw that in there for you. 47%. Where did that come from? Well, I just looked at what the other agents do and how many of their deals go under agreement, because I know none of them are networking the way I was. And 47% of their stuff still went under agreement. Now, by the way, if I'm talking to an emotional person, I'll say about half the time they're successful. But if I want to make sure I'm talking to both people, the emotional and the analytical, I will use a number specific, like 47%, because people look at that and say, that's not made up. It isn't. So if I've got somebody new, I want to create an alliance. Which one can I ally with? Well, it's not going to be the person that's never home. It's going to be the person who's the prisoner. And the more I talk with them, the more they'll start telling me about, oh, you're not going to believe this. As soon as they say that, they're about to hear a story you've probably heard 30 or 40 times. But they're going to say, so-and-so called me up. They said they were going to be here at 5. I stayed home. I was supposed to be somewhere at 6. I didn't go, waiting for them to show up. And you're not going to believe this. They never showed up. They didn't even call me. And you have to do something that you're not used to. You have to be sympathetic. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they would do that to you. In the meantime, you had it done to you 4 times last week. They don't know all the crap you put up with. They think that it's just them. Nobody else would do this. So you be sympathetic and say, yeah, boy, some people, they can be like that. Well, what do you do? How do you make sure they show up? You can't. The only way I can make sure they show up is let them think that I've got 3 other people coming and the house isn't going to be there if they don't show up. Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, I know. A lot of the things that I do, you'll never think of. Stop trying to list it on the phone. Big mistake many agents make is they think that they're going to list it on the phone. You're not. You've got to get face to face with them. And the easiest way to get face-to-face, if I could prove to you, and I mean beyond any doubt, that I can put more money in your pocket than you can for yourself, would you just agree to sit down with me? And if they sit down with you, you've got a shot at the listing, don't you? Do you have a shot at it if they don't sit down with you? Nope. You might think you do, but you don't. So these new people are typically going to stay on the market for a little while. And who blames them? You know, I got a $400,000 or $500,000 house. You're going to pay, you know, they're going to pay you $25,000, $30,000. Maybe it's worth taking a couple of weeks and try to see if I could sell it myself. And that's where I want to have my backup. The backup is the horror stories that you've had other sale by owners tell you. The deal that went together, that got right to the day of closing, and then it fell apart because the buyers had lied about it and they really didn't get their mortgage. Or they went in and they found something in the walkthrough and blew the deal up. What you need them to realize is that fall through happens. And by the way, in the market we're in, fall through is more than twice what it was in a normal market. Normal market fall through somewhere between 8 and 10%. Last year, when I was tracking it with some of the students that I have, 26% fall through. Why? Because some of these buyers, you're not going to believe this. There's your hint. Some of these buyers will actually lie. They'll write an offer and lie about it. Oh yeah, we'll put $70,000 down and no inspections and well, inspections just for informational purposes. That's all. And then they do the inspection and what? Try to renegotiate the deal. In the meantime, 2 or 3 other buyers who would have actually bought it are going to go buy something else now because they think that house is under agreement, and then it blows up. And some of these buyers think they can renegotiate with you. Happens all the time. So if they're going to go 2 or 3 weeks, forget about this monthly follow-up stuff. You need to talk to them every week. Every week you need to talk to them because they're going to make a decision. These are not the hardcore sale by owners. They're going to make a decision. I can't remember where the number was. I think it was 90, it was like 91 or 93%, something like that. Let's just say it was 91. 91% of the people who try to sell on their own will eventually either take their house off the market completely or list. 91%. That's a pretty good target for me, isn't it? Only 8% of them are going to be successful. 91% of them are going to either put it on the market with a realtor or take it off completely. Why would they take it off completely? Well, their plans changed. No, they couldn't sell it. And in a lot of cases, their ego gets in the way. Well, if we can't sell it for that, we're not going to sell it. Okay. Just out of curiosity, may I ask one question? What's that? You got a place to go? I mean, if it sells tomorrow, do you have a place to go? Well, we're looking. Where are they looking, folks? They're looking on MLS, which we all know is only one tool. Odds are the home they're going to buy is not on MLS yet. I was talking with some people yesterday, and we were talking about networking with their top listing agents. And there were a couple of them that were in the room, and they said immediately, I love having pocket listings. Love it. I know we got a couple of people on this call today that have pocket listings and keep them. Well, guess what? These other buyers don't know about them. Okay, let's talk about the one that's been on the market for a month or so and they're ready now. They've been frustrated enough times. Can I list it on the phone? Nope. What do I need? Get in the door. I'm going to use the same line. If I could prove to you, and I mean prove beyond any doubt, I know it's a lot, but if I could prove to you that I could net you more than you could yourself. Now, some of you are sitting there saying, yeah, well, how can you do that? If the house is worth what it's worth, how do I tack on my commission and net them more money? Well, number one, you're a professional negotiator. They're not. You know how to get a buyer's offer up to its highest and best. They don't. That's number one reason. Number two, you know how to create urgency with that buyer. You know how to say to the agent that they're working with, listen, this thing, I've already got 2 other offers. This thing will be gone by the end of tomorrow. If your guys aren't ready, this is going to be gone. And what does that do to that other buyer? Increases their offer. Does a FSBO know how to do that? No. But then my favorite one used to always be, I would say to the FSBO, here, let me ask you a question. If you were an agent, well, here, wait, let's do it this way. If you were a buyer, okay, and there's, I don't know, 10 or 15% of the homes that are available for sale by owner like yourself. And then 85% of the homes are either through an agent as a pocket listing or on MLS or whatever. If you were a buyer, first of all, you don't get to see the pocket listings because you don't even know who to talk to. But the other 80%, why would you personally, as a buyer, skip over 80% of the current inventory and only shop the people that are trying to sell on their own? Why would you do that? Now, eventually, you might have to lead them, but you'll get them to the point where it's to save money. Yeah. So how do you both save money? And I used to love it when they would say, well, instead of 6, they get 3, we get 3. Okay, now we're down to 3%. Now we're negotiating for 3%. That's it. A lot of these sale by owners will offer a buyer agent 3% if they bring a buyer to that sale by owner. A lot of them will do that. So we're negotiating 3% now. And if you can't prove your value for 3%, then you need to rethink what you're doing for a living. There's a lot of things that we do that a sale by owner does not do. You should have a list of them. What are some of the things that you do that they don't? Well, it starts with networking. They don't have those kind of networks. And I used to be able to show them how my network agents sold properties for more than my average agents did. You're like, well, how did you do that? 92.785% of all statistics are made up. Remember that. You're all looking at me strange right now. You should be going, oh, that's true. And it is. Isn't it amazing how NAR statistics can come out one month and the next month they've changed completely? Why? 92.785% of all numbers are probably made up. Don't worry about it. My job is to get in the door with these people. Show them you're professional. When you show up, have the right look. Be dressed professionally when you get there. If I'm out on a, $500,000-$600,000 listing and my car looks like crap, I might even go to and rent a car for the day so that when they look out the window, they don't see a bum showing up in a car that's looks like a wreck. They see somebody that looks professional. I've told this story for a lot of years. There was this one guy he was a sale by owner, and I went after it. And I didn't know it at the time, but the guy who was second, it was him and I, first and second every month. He got an appointment with this guy. And I didn't find out until after I got there. And so I did my thing. I ended up getting the listing. And when we put it under agreement, I asked the guy a question. I said, I got a curiosity question for you. He said, what's that? I said, I know the other guys that you interviewed, and one of them is also, pretty good in this area. I'm just curious why you picked me. He said, because you had a nice, clean, good-looking American car. I went, what? He said, yeah, my wife looked out the window and she said, it almost looked like your car was brand new. Well, come to find out, Tom, that's the other guy's name, had shown up in his spare car that day because his Mercedes was in the shop. I got absolutely lucky. That's all that was. Because they'd have had to figure out something else to decide. But he had his spare car, and his spare car was some beat up whatever. I don't even remember what it was. If he'd shown up in his Mercedes, who knows what might have happened. You go after something that you really want, then make sure you present the right look for them. Don't give them a reason to shut you down before you even get started. Okay, so let's review. 91% of anybody who goes sale by owner will either list or completely come off the market. 91%. That's a huge target for you. It's a huge opportunity for you. What's the worst that can happen when you get there? They say no. Well, what's the worst that's happening right now? It's still no, because you're not going after them. So the worst thing that can happen is you come out of it right where you are now. But what's the opportunity? $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 listing at whatever commission you're charging. And all you need to do is get in the door. You get in the door, you increase your odds dramatically of getting this listing. And then you start talking to them about the things that you do different that they can't do. And the odds are you're going to walk out with more listings. I hope today was worth your time. I'm going to turn off the recording and let these guys throw some questions at me, because usually this topic brings some questions. Wish you were here. Maybe you will be next time. Let me turn off the recording.